You know, Kim was Paris Hilton's assistant.
What's going on with it? That is if I ever go to India outfit.
I should have had a baby with Paris Hilton over Kim Kardashian. You guys, could you imagine if I had kids with Paris Hilton, how many hotels I have now? You get what I'm saying? Think about that. Think about that. The Hilton. You know, the Hilton.
Kanye West just stirred the pot again, and this time he's dragging not just his ex-wife Kim Kardashian, but also her longtime bestie, Paris Hilton, into the fire. And wait till you hear what he's implying, because it's messy.
I didn't want to have children with this person after the first 2 months of being with her, but that wasn't God's plan.
So apparently Kanye's throwing out this wild claim that Kim and Paris might have been to the king of all parties, Diddy, and might have also swapped their partners there. Not just this, but reportedly, he also dropped evidence because he knew people might not believe him otherwise. And while that sounds like a whole reality show in itself, things get even crazier. There's talk that some kind of explosive video tied to all of this may have been found during the FBI raid at Diddy's mansion. Now here's the thing. If you've been keeping an eye on celebrity drama for a while, this theory about Kim, Paris, and Diddy getting a little too cozy isn't exactly brand new. It's one of those rumors that's been floating around in the shadows of Hollywood for years. However, it has recently started gaining serious attention, all thanks to none other than legendary music producer Scott Storch. For those who don't know, Scott Storch isn't just some random dude with an opinion. This guy was deep in the scene producing hit tracks, hanging out with A-listers, and basically living that early 2000s rock star lifestyle. So when he speaks on something, it holds weight. And what he's now saying? Let's just say it's way too close to Kanye's claims to ignore. Scott recently opened up about what was really going down behind the velvet ropes of Hollywood's elite parties. And spoiler alert, it wasn't all champagne and selfies. He painted a picture of a world filled with secret hookups, power games, and behind closed doors deals that would make your jaw drop. Here's where it gets juicier. Back in those golden era days, Scott was living large on Indian Creek Island, also known as Billionaire Bunker. That place isn't just exclusive, it's ultra exclusive. Like, you don't even breathe the air there unless you're mega rich or mega connected. And guess who entered the scene around that time? Paris Hilton.
You guys used to date, you and Paris Hilton?
Yeah. I mean,
how did that happen?
She came, I was living at the time on Indian Creek Island.
Now, Paris and Scott initially linked up for music. At first, things didn't look fishy at all. But let's be real, this is Hollywood. That professional connection, it turned into a full-blown relationship. And through Paris, Scott said he was exposed to an entirely different level of fame, one that went way beyond red carpets and camera flashes. He hinted that Paris wasn't just introducing him to celebrities, she was opening doors to private parties, intimate circles, and connections that blurred the lines between personal and professional. And in that world, names like Diddy, Kim, and even Kanye were just a regular part of the crowd. So when Kanye recently alluded to Kim and Paris possibly being involved in some kind of sharing situation with Diddy, it suddenly didn't sound that far-fetched anymore. Especially with Scott Storch backing it up, not with gossip, but with first-hand experience. And here's where things get even more intense. According to Scott, Paris didn't just introduce him to a girls' night out or a couple of red carpets. She threw him straight into the deep end of the celebrity life.
Paris came to work with me. We ended up dating and had a relationship, and she introduced me to like paparazzi's nightlife, being like the man, Us Weekly, TMZ, like this whole party life and wild shit like that I never experienced. I was like in the studio.
She was the one who pulled him out of the studio and into the flashing lights of paparazzi. We're talking full-on media blitz, TMZ appearances, Us Weekly mentions, and getting papped outside every major LA hotspot. He already had the cars, the mansions, the money, but Paris gave him something else: exposure, fame, a seat at the table of Hollywood's inner circle. Before Paris, Scott said he felt like an outsider. He was just a guy behind the hits, not the face in the photos. And when he did show up to events, he admitted he had major anxiety, like he didn't belong, like he was playing dress-up in someone else's world. But once Paris Hilton became part of the picture, everything shifted.
Like friends would come over and like they would go to the club and then they would come back after, and I would ask them how it was. I think I was like nervous to even be cool at that point. And then she came along and I was cool and I got addicted to that. That was some douchebag shit on my behalf that like I got so caught up in that.
Suddenly, he wasn't just the music guy, he was a celebrity. But with that fame came a cost. Scott described that chapter of his life as a blur, like he was constantly chasing the next high, the next party, the next headline. He even confessed that it turned him into someone he didn't recognize, someone obsessed with attention, caught up in the hype, and surrounded by people who, according to him, were straight up toxic. He didn't name names, said doing that would be disrespectful, but he made it very clear those people chipped away at who he really was, took a grounded, soulful musician, and turned him into a fame-chasing shell. And just when you think it couldn't get any more Hollywood, enter Kim Kardashian.
People that are just not good, like people that think they're better than others, like, I don't want to call out names, whatever, it's too insulting, but just like Hollywood douchebags. And like, you know, you are what you hang out with. And it changed me from being this like innocent, like soulful, like.
Now at the time, Kim was just Paris Hilton's closet organizer. Literally. She wasn't the household name we know today. She was just the quiet girl in the background, hanging out in the shadows of the stars. But Scott dropped a little nugget that had everyone raising their eyebrows. He didn't spell it out, but it was loud and clear. One day, Kim wasn't just staying in the guest room anymore. Suddenly, she was in the master bedroom. No long explanation.
There was a story that came out, a video that was shown saying back in the days when Kim K was Paris Hilton's assistant.
Yeah.
Was it true? Was Kim K Paris's assistant?
Yeah, she used to sleep in my guest room. Yep. And then some weird shit happened. I'm not gonna say what happened, but and then she made it to the master bedroom.
And then the Paris and Scott chapter was over. Paris found out about Kim, but by then it was already too late. The torch had been passed, whether anyone liked it or not. Kim Kardashian had stepped right into the spotlight, and there was no turning back.
No, it was just like she and I were done, and like I think we were both like had it, and we were like commiserating.
Now, if Kim managed to make her way into Scott's master bedroom while he was still with Paris Hilton, you can probably guess just how far she's willing to go. So ask yourself, what might she have been up to at Diddy's infamous parties? The 54-year-old music mogul and the CEO of Bad Boy Records is now facing some seriously disturbing charges. Stuff that goes way beyond our usual celebrity drama. He's been booked for ST and racketeering, reportedly tied to things that allegedly went on for years. The spark that set it all off? A lawsuit from his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, who accused him of both S and physical A during their relationship. Rumors are swirling that Kim Kardashian and her sisters, Khloe and Kourtney, have definitely been part of it. In fact, they were pretty closely tied to Sean Diddy Combs' social scene. They even talk openly about going to parties more than a few times. But things have taken a serious turn lately. After that, it was like a domino effect. More people started coming forward, sharing their own stories, and pointing fingers at Diddy's now infamous freak-offs. But here's where the story takes a twist. Kim Kardashian's former boyfriend, Ray J, had a very different experience. Kim and Ray J dated for about 3 years, back in the early 2000s. And yes, that infamous tape from their time together played a huge role in launching Kim into the spotlight. Both of them were regulars at Diddy's parties back then. Ray J even said he showed up to quite a few himself. As for the Kardashians, they've talked about Diddy's parties several times over the years, even while filming Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And now that Diddy's name is back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, one old clip of Khloe Kardashian is making the rounds online. In it, she recalls seeing at one of Diddy's parties, a moment that has people side-eyeing past events all over again. The clip was taken from an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Khloe confirmed that Justin Bieber, French Montana, and Quincy Brown were in attendance. Khloe said, "I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. Well, this party, I think half the people there were butt naked." Her friend, "You would have loved it." Her comments certainly raised eyebrows, but this wasn't the only time the Kardashian sisters raved about Diddy's Hollywood bashes. Khloe once posted a picture of her and her sisters standing with Diddy, captioning it, "Nothing like a Diddy party." Kourtney also went as far as calling one of his parties epic during an appearance on Cocktails with Khloe. As if that wasn't enough to raise eyebrows at her, her ex-boyfriend stirred the pot by supporting P. Diddy. While most of Hollywood seems to be staying quiet or separating themselves from the controversy, Ray J is doing the opposite. He's not just showing support, he's going public with it. In a new interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored that aired on May 27th, Ray J didn't hold back, talking about Diddy's current legal troubles. The R&B singer and actor declared, "Free Diddy," making it clear where he stands. "I feel for him, you know what I mean?" the 44-year-old said about Combs. "And I'm actually worried about him in this state now, because it's a dangerous world, and we're just seeing a lot of things unfold and power being played, and it's a circus act." Ray J, whose full name is William Ray Norwood Jr., revealed that he actually spoke with Diddy just a week and a half before everything went down. While he didn't get into details, it's clear he was referring to Diddy's high-profile September 2024 arrest. The courtroom has been flooded with shocking accusations from V to disturbing stories about Diddy's private life. But Ray J isn't buying into all of that. He believes the prosecution is pushing too hard, trying to take things from behind closed doors and turn them into something criminal. How many more stories do we have to hear? I mean, this is some really freaky stuff that I think should be kept private, and it's just starting to get freakier and dirtier, he said. When it comes to the term freak-offs, a phrase being thrown around in the media reports and social media, Ray J was quick to shut that down too. He said, "I never used that term whenever we went to a Diddy party," and added that if those kinds of things were happening, he probably wouldn't have known. "I would have gotten an invitation." In his opinion, the entire case has been blown out of proportion. He doubled down on his belief that there's not much weight behind the allegations and ended his statement with full confidence in his friend's innocence. "I honestly think that Diddy will get out, and I think there's nothing here. I think they made their point. Now let Diddy out. Free Diddy." Of course, most people know Ray J as Kim Kardashian's ex, the man involved in the now infamous 2007 adult tape leak that played a major role in launching her career. While his connection to Kim has long been tabloid fodder, Ray J has managed to stay in the spotlight over the years. And now he's stepping into it once again. This time as one of the very few celebrities willing to publicly defend Diddy. This only raised more eyebrows about how close Kim Kardashian and Ray J really were with Diddy. The fact that Ray J had the nerve to defend Diddy so publicly suggests he wasn't just casually around. He was deep in those party circles. Before Kanye ever said "I do" to Kim Kardashian, let's be real, he already knew what came with the package. This wasn't some fairy tale mystery. He was well aware of the past. The infamous tape with Ray J wasn't the only thing being whispered about. There were rumors of multiple tapes floating around, like ticking time bombs just waiting to explode. And even now, long after their divorce, Kanye is reportedly still doing damage control behind the scenes, trying to make sure those skeletons stay locked in the closet. Just a little while back, he hopped on Twitch, letting fans listen in as he went on one of his now signature rants. But this time it got personal, real personal. He didn't hold back. According to reports, Kanye flat out said he wished he had a baby with Paris Hilton instead of Kim Kardashian. He said that out loud on camera. And it instantly set the internet on fire. That one sentence was like a digital earthquake. Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, you name it, everyone had something to say. But Kanye, being Kanye, didn't stop there. He went on to paint a picture of what his life could have looked like. He imagined a world where, if he had chosen Paris instead of Kim, he'd now be tied to the Hilton name. Hotels, legacy, real estate empire, generational wealth.
You guys, could you imagine if I had kids with Paris Hilton, how many hotels I have now?
You have the whole
You get what I'm saying? Think about that. Think about that. The Hilton. You know, the Hilton. Because I think y'all staying in the Hilton right now.
It wasn't just about money. It was about status, about building something that lasts. He made it sound like he missed out on becoming part of an iconic dynasty. But beneath the sarcasm and the digs, you could hear something else: regret. That raw, uncomfortable kind that sneaks up when you're looking back at the crossroads in your life, wondering if you took the wrong turn. He even made a cryptic comment about not staying at Hilton hotels anymore, almost like he was throwing shade at himself, pointing out how far removed he feels from the life he thought he was building. "Y'all, imagine if I had kids with Paris Hilton," he said, half joking, half aching. But here's the kicker. The Hilton family sold their stake in the hotel empire way back in 2007. That's 5 whole years before Kanye even started dating Kim, and 6 years before they had their first child together. So this wasn't really about business or hotel ownership. It was about symbolism. About Kanye realizing that no matter how much fame or success he had, he never really had control. He played into a system, a machine he thought he could bend to his will. But now he's left picking up the pieces and sharing his regrets with the entire world watching. And if that wasn't heavy enough, there's more. In a particularly unsettling moment during his interview with DJ Academics, Kanye dropped another emotional bombshell. He admitted that he didn't even want to start a family with Kim early on. He said that it had been 2 months since they had gotten together when things started to move too fast. But here's the twist. He also said it wasn't his decision to make. In his words, it wasn't God's plan.
I didn't want to have children with this person after the first 2 months of being with her. But that wasn't God's plan.
Now, whether you take that as a spiritual reflection or another jab at Kim, it's clear he felt like he got swept into something too big, too fast, and maybe a little too scripted. And right around that time, whispers started making their way through the media. Whispers that Kim was looking into legal options to possibly limit his access to their 4 kids. Not necessarily out of revenge, but maybe out of concern. Kanye's behavior had become unpredictable, to say the least. However, Kanye didn't let that slide. He heard that loud and clear. He clapped back, saying something chilling. Kim's only real power is taking my kids away.
Kim's only power is to take my kids. I had a baby with a assistant, bro.
That line hit hard. It wasn't about money, fame, or status anymore. It was about fatherhood. About a man who might feel like he's losing the only thing that really matters now, his family.
It sucks, you know, when someone doesn't see how different they are. You'll always, hope that you'll see a glimpse of them. And, I hope I do.
Scott just didn't name drop Kim for the sake of gossip. He broke down how she moved. Fast, strategically, almost like she had a blueprint in hand. According to him, Kim didn't waste a second climbing her way into the world of elite power players. 1 minute she was organizing closets, and the next, she was rubbing shoulders with billionaires and industry giants. The switch-up wasn't gradual, it was surgical, intentional. And Scott backed all of this up with a story that really stuck out. He recalled this one time in the studio, just a regular session with none other than Dr. Dre. They were deep in the creative zone when Kanye suddenly pulled up. No warning, no context, just showed up. He asked to take a picture, snapped one real quick and then dipped. Kind of odd, but hey, it's Kanye. But when he came back minutes later wearing a completely different outfit, just to retake that same photo, yeah, that really happened. Scott and Dre just looked at each other like, what's going on here? It was one of those moments where no words are spoken, but both of them felt the shift in the energy. Then, as things couldn't get weirder, Kanye allegedly stormed out, and on his way out, he called Dr. Dre the devil. Scott said Dre was totally caught off guard, didn't understand where that came from. It wasn't like there was a fight or some heated exchange. It was just confusing, awkward, like Kanye was dealing with something far deeper than what was happening in the room. Maybe the music they were making didn't align with his spiritual vibe. Or maybe Kanye was having one of those moments where the lines between reality and paranoia start to blur. Either way, it was clear something was off. It felt like Kanye was spiraling, trying to stay grounded while the whole world around him felt more and more like an illusion. And the thing is, he's not even spelling everything out. That silence, that missing context, to some fans, it's even more telling than a full-blown explanation. What do you think Kanye saw in that moment? Tell us in the comments below.